And they said, we're here to open the portals. I said, okay. So they came around, they stood on either side of my dad's head at his bedside, and they said, we're here to take your dad, but we need you to do something for us. And I was like, okay, what would that be? And they said, well, most people don't know what a human incarnation is about, and we need you to correct that.
Hello, passionate listeners. Welcome to Passion Harvest. I am Louisa, your host, International Passion Ambassador. Thank you for being here wherever you are in the world. I'm so excited about my guest today, Dr. Connie Cockrell Kaplan. In 1986, Dr. Kaplan was struck with a mysterious illness that sent her to bed for over 18 months. Since then, Connie has undergone a number of mystical experiences, each providing a valuable spiritual information about the nature of human incarnation. Connie is a spiritual mentor and is the author of 5 books. She was raised in Texas as a minister's daughter. Spirituality has been an important foundation in her life. Connie teaches extensively, offering 5 or 6 classes per year. The information she bestows through her classes invites you to expand what you think you know about why we are here, and instead examine possibilities that connect human life and soul in unique, atypical ways. This is her story and this is her passion. Connie, welcome to Passion Harvest. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
So let's dive right in. I'm excited. If you don't mind briefly discussing some of your mystical experiences.
Well, sure. I think the most important one is
whatever resonates with you.
Okay, is the one where I was sitting with my father at his deathbed, and he had been pretty much out of it for about 4 or 5 days, and my sisters and I were, kind of sitting around the clock with him, and it was my turn. And it was just before dawn on a December day, and I was holding his hand and I was talking very softly to him, and I was telling him how proud we were of him and how proud we were of this gentle passing that he was creating. And I heard the door behind me open. He was in a rest home type place, a facility. I heard the door behind me open, and I knew it must be a nurse or something coming to check his vitals, because it was pre-dawn, there wouldn't be any visitors. And I turned around, and there were these 2 angels standing on either side of the door.
Wow. Now,
they weren't angels like all in white with halos and wings and stuff. They were more like, I don't know if you saw the movie, oh no, I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was one where John Travolta was being an angel.
I haven't seen it, but I've seen the shorts for it, so.
Go see Michael, because Michael mostly dressed in a trench coat to cover his wings.
Right.
And these particular angels were darkly dressed, and they were backlit, so I couldn't really see their faces or I didn't get a gender or a skin color or anything like that. I just knew they were angels. And the reason I knew was because there was this golden honey-like flavor in the room. And there was so much love. I couldn't believe it. But I was kind of a cynic, as I still am. And so I said to them, so why'd you use the door?
Oh, right. Okay.
And they
question.
said, yeah, I thought it was a reasonable question. And they said, we're here to open the portals. I said, okay. So they came around, they stood on either side of my dad's head at his bedside, and they said, we're here to take your dad, but we need you to do something for us. And I was like, okay, what would that be? And they said, well, most people don't know what a human incarnation is about, and we need you to correct that. And I'm like, oh yeah, so I'm going to correct the entire human world about what an incarnation is about. They said, no, we just need you to write some things down. And I was really not a great candidate for that. I didn't want to be one of those people that sat on a stage and talked in a squeaky voice and said I was channeling stuff, or, I didn't want to do any of that. And they said, no, there are some mistakes. Humans, for the most part, do not understand what an incarnation is. Humans think it's like a school where you're learning stuff, or a school, even worse, where your soul needs to learn something, or a place where you need to create or burn off karma,
Yep.
or a place where you need to do something, you need to accomplish something. And they said, no, it's none of that. A human incarnation is that you take an incarnation in order to deliver a gift from the level of soul into the realm of form. You agree to take an incarnation to deliver a spiritual gift. It's not a doing thing, it's a being thing. So humans need to learn to be who they agreed to be, and the doingness just shows up. The doingness is almost secondary.
And offer that gift to the world or to individuals.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, I get the question a lot. I'm sure you do. Well, what is my purpose? Why, what am I meant to do?
Right. Because that's the cultural lie that we all live with. We all live with a belief that we're supposed to do something to prove our value.
Because we've been taught that action, achieves goals.
Right. And we also therefore then believe that if if I just be, I just sit around on the couch for my entire life. That's not valuable. But the point is, if you be who you are here to be, what it is that is unique for you to do shows up and says, do me. And then that's what you do.
I'm so intrigued by this. And this is what you offer in some of your courses or your classes.
This is what my courses are about, is teaching people to remember what they came here to be.
Can you give us a little sneak peek of some of the tips or the tools for that? I'm so intrigued now. You can't leave us standing like that.
Right. So at this point, these angels kind of like blasted me into this place it was sound and color, frequency, vibration, geometric shapes. I saw no other people there, but I knew that I had just been sent to the place where all the answers were.
Wow.
And then I forgot to ask any questions, because when you're in the place where all the answers are, there aren't any questions, right? So it was just kind of this immersion into this place of, oh, this is what humanity is. So I came back, and I had looked at the clock, by the way, when they walked into the room. And after I came back into what I would call my default consciousness, I looked at the clock again, and about 45 minutes had passed. So I had been out of it. And so it was like, you could call it a near-death experience, except my dad was the one that was dying, and I was the one that received the information. So basically what I learned was several things. One is that this is not a one soul, one person world. So those of us who use the language of saying my soul, or, he was a good soul, or she's an old soul, or that language is inaccurate. Soul is that unified field of consciousness where I was sent. Soul is that place where everything is so completely interconnected that there is no separation. We are all emanations of that one soul. So that's the first thing that they're asking me to convey.
So obviously I agree that, well, it doesn't matter if I agree or not, but eventually the soul is completely interconnected, but we see ourselves as separate. Are we separate conscious
We are separate emanations from oneness. It's as if life force wanted to experience itself in as many individuations as possible, right?
And we
Life,
perceive ourselves as individuals, where
we
in
perceive
fact we're not.
individuals because, you know, the reality is that we see ourselves as you're there and I'm here and you're not here because I'm here, right? So it's we perceive ourselves as separate because we don't have the spiritual imagination to understand ourselves as unique individuations of oneness.
Gosh, this conversation's getting really exciting. I don't want to digress. I've got so many questions to ask, but I don't want to stop you with what you were teaching. But I've just got to ask one question. How does that work in regards to reincarnation?
I don't know.
Okay.
They didn't say anything to me about reincarnation.
Good.
And so I always say, yeah, go talk to somebody that believes in reincarnation to find out about that, because I don't have any information about that.
And is there any other information you'd like to share that they offered you?
Yes. So they said we incarnate in clusters. So you perceive yourself as individual, but you actually incarnated with a whole group of people who bring in the gift together. So you're not alone, even though you feel alone, and you don't know who those other people are necessarily when you're incarnated, when you're embodied.
They could be on the other side of the world.
Could be on the other side of the world, could be, you know, the guy that you just sat next to on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not your job. Your job when you're incarnated is not to get together and decide what to do. Your job when you're incarnated is to remember to be the gift that you came to be. And then in dreams, in other dimensions of consciousness, you'll evaluate with each other, how you did. So that's another important piece of this body of information.
Yes, and this is probably a silly question, but I need to ask it. What are some of the examples of the gifts that we've come here to, spiritual gifts that we've come here to offer?
Okay, so this is the body of the information. Mm-hmm. There are 30 spiritual principles that interweave like a blanket what it is to be human. These spiritual principles aren't necessarily what it is to be a dog or what it is to be, a plant. These are the 30 spiritual principles that interface to be human. And these 30 spiritual principles, you when you're born, when you take your first breath, you breathe in certain number of those principles. It's usually about 12. And those are the principles that interweave to create the gift that you are. And you don't have to do or be anything else than those 12 principles. Each of those principles has a numerological correspondent. And in the natal chart, the astrological natal chart, each planet is located at a certain degree of whatever sign it's in. So the way you discern which principles are yours is that you look at the degree of your planets and correspond that to the numerological correspondent of your principles.
This is fascinating. I think you call it spiritual DNA, or it's definitely in one of your books.
Yes. So these 12 principles that are yours are your spiritual DNA. And they are the principles that you are here to be and the gift that you are here to deliver.
And you received all this knowledge during this experience.
It's one of those things where I was would you call it a download or you call it a transmission? It was like I came back into my default, you know, consciousness with this whole body of knowledge. And then my task was to try to put words to it, right? So it took me several months to to pull the words and outline the experience that I had had. So that's what I did for the first few months after my dad died. I tried to put words to what I had learned. And then I started talking to people about it. This is what I think I learned about your spiritual DNA. Da 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 da. How does that resonate with you? And it was probably about 3,000 readings that I gave like that before I felt comfortable. Yes, this is valid.
3,000.
Yeah. It was 8 years between having the experience and publishing the book. Right.
And once you're more aware of those, the spiritual principles, some people call it our path, or it offers us direction of where we should lead, or how we can share our spiritual gifts.
Yes, because the first part of it, stage one is just learning about your spiritual principles. Then stage two is really examining what that means to be rather than do.
It is a hard one to be rather than do.
Yeah. And then the third part is to let the doingness show up and be ready to, available to do what it is that I am here to do based on what I'm here to be.
I get it. It's very hard. I mean, just the being, and then patience. We're always in a hurry in our society to achieve something, or we want everything now. So, even that in themselves are wonderful lessons.
Yeah. That is the point of what they were saying. It's like, you guys are so busy, thinking that you know what life is all about and what you're supposed to do with life. You're missing the point. And if you don't get it, that's okay, but we're moving on. Evolution is moving on.
And then what did you understand what occurs then as it moves on? And if we don't allow our spiritual gifts to come in this incarnation, what happens?
We're dinosaurs. We're done.
So once our physical body dies, what happens?
No, I'm not talking about individuals. I'm talking about the species.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
This species is here to advance evolution, advance the opportunity for life to live itself in as many different and diverse and nuanced ways as possible. But if we can't sort of graduate to the next level with it, then there'll be another experiment.
Okay.
There.
And you also talk about spiritual frequencies or colors. Does this relate to what you experienced as well, or received in information?
Later. Yeah, there was another experience, another mystical experience I had. What was it? Maybe 3.5 years later, in which I saw that each of these principles also has a certain kind of frequency that can be compared to the frequency that colors carry, and how they interface. But that's like a completely different conversation. So maybe you and I will have another time together where we'll talk about that.
Sure. So is there anything else you'd like to share about the spiritual gifts?
Well, so let me give you a concrete example. I'm looking, let me look at, let me put on my little glasses here so I can look at your chart. So when you were born, the sun, which is your primary principle, this is everybody's primary gift, is where the sun was at the moment of your birth. That's your reason for incarnating, to deliver that gift into form. All the other planets were in wherever they were in support of your gift of the sun principle. And in your particular case, the sun was at 12 degrees of Pisces when you were born. And the number 12 corresponds to the principle of creativity. So your primary gift is to deliver the gift of creativity into form. Now, as I said, each of these words, I had to use normal words, and because I don't understand anything but English, I had to use English words. But they don't necessarily carry the normal vernacular. Their definition is not the normal vernacular. So the principle of creativity is not about being an artist or about, making stuff. The principle of creativity is about the ability to juxtapose energies, whether they're thought energies or physical energies, in a way that's never been done before. So your gift to the level of form is to constantly juxtapose energies in ways that have never been done before, so that they sort of evoke something new in the person who
it's very interesting. I completely understand what you're saying.
Good, because that's who you are.
And there's no mistaking. Obviously. I mean, I feel I'm already doing that.
Right? And that's part of the fun of this work, is that you get to look at, these are the things that I'm already doing. I already feel like I'm being that principle. And then you get to look more deeply at what might be socialized or enculturalized lies about yourself that you've incorporated that may be preventing a greater experience of the delivery of the gift.
This is so interesting. And does that relate to, you talk about life patterns or life patternings?
Mm-hmm.
Is this related to this as well?
Yes, your life pattern is this. These principles, these few principles that are yours as your delivery, are your destiny. They are your life pattern. And so your only job is to be that and not be anything else. Right?
Yes. I mean, what wonderful insights. And I guess you're living your life by it and sharing it, certainly, with others.
I'm doing my best.
Well, you're doing a great job. So can I ask what your spiritual gift was?
My primary gift is the gift of humility. Now, in this particular work, humility is not about, doormat syndrome or, being less than. In this particular work, the definition of humility is authentic self-knowing. Knowing yourself so deeply and so authentically that nothing throws you out of balance, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the most powerful things that was said to me during this process with the angels and in creating the words was, it is equally arrogant to think too little of yourself as it is to think too much of yourself. Know yourself authentically. Know exactly who you are. So that's my gift, is to know myself authentically and to be that, so that everybody who comes into contact with me has the experience of authentic self-knowing.
Very interesting. And you were speaking before about how we can also explore our consciousness through dreams. And I know you've written a book on dreams as well. Do you mind sharing some of the importance of dreams?
Right. So the work that I teach on dreaming came as a result of another experience.
Okay, I guess we can't detail every mystical experience. You've had so many wonderful ones.
We're going to have a lot of conversations, but the dreaming experience was that I I had an illness that kept me asleep for a couple of years. I mean, I wasn't in a coma, but I was mostly asleep for a couple of years. And during that period of time, I was shown what dreaming is and how it's different from what people think it is. It seems like that's one of the I don't know, the goals right now is for people to get over the lies that they've incorporated in order to live in a deeper level of truth. So in Western culture, we've been indoctrinated to think that dreams are psychological events, that dreams are times when we go into our own psyche and explore what's wrong with us,
Right.
basically. And this body of work said, no, that's not really true. Dreams have many, many different avenues through which they come to us. Some of them are personal. There are psychological dreams, yes, but there are collective dreams. There are dreams where we telepathically pick up information that we don't have access to otherwise, or dreams where we clairvoyantly pick up something that is about to happen that isn't in material form yet, or we have healing dreams where we are being healed or other people are being healed through the power of the dream energy. We have shamanic dreams where we actually physically transmutate into some other form in order to experience what it is like to be a bird or a wolf or something. The point here is that when we go to sleep, the physical body is in a regeneration mode. Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay.
The physical body's in a regeneration mode, and the spiritual body heads back toward soul, that one soul.
This is what happens when we dream.
When we go to sleep.
When we go to sleep.
The spiritual body heads back to be regenerated, like plugging in your
nourished or
something, right? And on that journey, we encounter energies in the cosmos. And in those energetic encounters, we have experiences. And then, because we are meaning makers and story writers as human beings, when we're on our way back into, what I call default consciousness, we write a story about that experience that we had in consciousness. And that story tells us something about what we experienced. It may or may not be personal. It kind of looks personal because the only way we know how to write a story is based on our own personal experience. So we will pull, situations and faces and relationships and whatever from our own, lexicon of experiences to write that story. But that doesn't mean that what we experienced in consciousness was personal. We experienced something cosmic in consciousness that we brought back into waking reality. And a lot of that experience is determined by the phase and location of the moon when we had the experience, when we had the dream.
Oh, okay.
Because the moon, just like it pulls on the tides of the earth, when we go onto the horizontal plane, the moon pulls on our tides, just like it pulls on the tides of the earth. We become a part of the skin of the earth, actually. So my dreaming work is a lot about exploring lunar consciousness, a different kind of consciousness. We have one kind of consciousness when we're on the vertical plane and a very different one when we're on the horizontal plane.
What incredible information. What about people, well, me sometimes as well, that don't remember dreams?
Well, usually when you don't remember dreams, it's because of, it's probably because you're too tired, right? I mean, the primary reason for sleep is to regenerate the body. So if you're tired, if you're really, really tired and your body needs all of that energy of sleeping, you're not going to have the energy to remember, to write a dream story. It doesn't mean you didn't dream. That doesn't mean your consciousness didn't travel. It just means you didn't have the energy to create a dream story to bring back into form. I mean,
Um,
I totally feel that when we go into the dreaming space, we are kind of in quotes out of body, but that sounds a little bit too divisive, right? For my language. We're never not embodied. As long as we're breathing, we're embodied. So, but um, I do know that when we're on that dream journey, we pick up information that is non-local to our bodies.
and yes, and I can't wait to find out about this. You have a new book called The Emergence of a New Cosmology, and it relates to the evolution of human consciousness, which you were talking about. I'd love to hear more about that if you don't mind.
Oh, great. Thank you for asking about that. So yes, these 30 spiritual principles that create the weave of humanity, I've been teaching that for years and years, and mostly teaching it as these are the principles that create your individual weave. All right, so the word cosmology means the story we tell ourselves about why we're here.
Okay.
But it's a collective story. We each have a personal story. We each have an ontology that is ours personally. But the collective story about why we're here is a cosmology. Over the course of humanity, that cosmology has changed, as you can imagine. Like when we were just standing up in the savannah and looking around, there was one sense of who we are. And then when we became groups of people that migrated here and there was another sense of who we are. And then when we became groups of people who stabilized and grew our own food rather than foraging for it, there was another sense of who we are. We became tribes and families. There was another, each time we developed a new way of living, a new place to live, we created a new story. There was the Renaissance in which art and music and philosophy and astrology and astronomy, I mean, every science, medical, everything burst open and we created a new story. And then there was the Industrial Revolution in which we became partners with machines. We were no longer the primary source of the energy of getting the work done. There was a new story. So right now, we're creating a new story. We're not clear right now about who we are. A new story is being written through us, not necessarily by us, but through us, because we have become thinking technologies for life force. It's like life force has 8 billion almost different ways of experiencing itself. And all of those ways involve an incredible ability to think and imagine and create never before thought of juxtapositions like what you're doing.
Yeah. The
I
creativity.
realized a few years ago that these 30 principles are not just about how each person gets to experience his or her life. These 30 principles actually are the tools through which the new story is being written. So that's what this new book is about. It's the cosmology that is being written through us, through the agency of these 30 spiritual principles that create life. And I just happen to have a copy of it here.
Oh, good. Please show it up.
The book design was by an Australian woman, a friend of mine, Jessica Verducci. So I'm really quite in love with the book cover. I think it's
lovely.
Yeah.
So do you have any idea of what evolutionary stage or creativity we're moving into?
Well, that's the point of this book, is that we have to be conscious enough and aware enough and available enough to invite it and witness it, but not arrogant enough to think that we're writing it. We're not the center force of evolution. We like to think that we are. We anthropomorphize everything, but we're not that. We are co-participants with evolution. And through our learning to be these principles, we are giving the hospitality to the new story through our lives without thinking that we are the creators of the trajectory of evolution. Did that make sense?
I'm thinking about it, but I absolutely love the be more than the doing part. I think that's essential.
Yeah, and the thing about that is that there's I don't know, there's kind of an innate fear around talking about being rather than doing. You know, people like, I don't know, I gotta make a living. I've got to bring money home. I've got to, I can't
Yes.
just sit
Or
around
you're
and,
lazy, or I mean, there's so
yeah,
many
yeah. Oh, I can't look
connotations.
lazy, right? I can't look, right? Because there's not just a very basic trust in life.
So what do you say to those people that say, well, I do, you know, I have to work and I need to earn money, and all the other factors and comments that they might make?
I say the things that you are to do, the things that are unique to you. I mean, every person is unique. That's true. That doesn't mean we're separate. It means that we're unique. And every person's uniqueness can do something that nobody else can do.
Mm-hmm.
If you are available to your own uniqueness, if you are willing to be your uniqueness, believe me, there's plenty of stuff for that unique thing to do. But if you're busy thinking up stuff to do so that culture will think you're busy, or culture will think you're productive, or culture will give you enough money to pay for the house that you want to live in, or whatever, you're being willful and you're missing your whole life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I can use myself as an example, although most people just say, well, I don't have, you know, mystical experiences. But
That's
I was
that other voice.
I was in television production, and I was happy. I had a great life. I had a great house. I had a great husband. I had a great kid. I had a, you know, Saab convertible. I mean, hey, dude. And then everything changed. Not everything. I mean, I still have a great husband and great kids and
Okay.
whatever. But
You got sick.
But I got sick, and I could no longer do that career. That career was done. It was over. And then all of this work came. And when I tell you, I am busier than I have ever been. And actually, I probably, I don't know, but I'm probably making more money than I've ever made, because I'm doing what is unique to me to do.
That was really in alignment with your special gift, spiritual gift that you've come here for.
Apparently. I don't know. I'm doing what has been showing up over the years for me to do. The next thing is.
I get it. I'm learning how to do that really well. It's taken me a long time.
It does. It does. It takes a long time. It's almost like you have to do everything that is not you.
Yeah, like unlearn everything you've been taught.
You do everything that is not you. And then you finally go, okay, I guess none of that was it. You know, I'm done. What's it? What is it that I'm here to be?
Yeah, no, that's a great reminder. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you'd like to share with the Passion Harvest audience?
Oh, wow. That's an interesting question.
No pressure. Just have a think about it.
Oh, I guess I wish I could just impart to everyone how important it is to understand your incarnation, not as a doing this thing, not as an accomplishing anything thing, but is a opportunity to express life in a way that no one else has ever. This is completely your incarnation. That's what I would love for everybody to know.
Yeah, well, that's a great way to end the show. And anyone that's looking to find you, all your details will be in the show notes. Dr. Connie Kaplan, thank you so much for being on Passion Harvest. I'm going to think more about that being. That's a great tip. We often forget that.
Yes, of course.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
If you like this episode, please do subscribe for weekly passionate, inspirational interviews.